Federal agents raided locations in Minneapolis, seizing over 240 kilograms of cocaine, firearms, and $154 million linked to the CJNG cartel. A judge and multiple officials were implicated in facilitating the network. The operation, part of Operation Northern Razor, exposed systemic corruption and cartel activity in Minnesota, leading to over 137 arrests. President Trump's war on drug trafficking expands. Cartels declared unlawful combatants, enabling wartime powers. 5:18 a.m., Minneapolis, Minnesota. Federal agents move in. Unmarked cars pull up outside Judge Layla Mahad's office. Doors open, heels click, agents enter silently. Battering ram smashes reinforce doors. Family photos beside the flag sway as agents sweep room by room. Drawers are emptied. Lights cut through darkness. Behind a false wall, 6 kilograms of cocaine and 7 firearms are found. A hidden safe reveals $81 million in cash. Encrypted phones show CJNG routes, dates, and codes. This is the core of a network operating inside the law. 6 kilograms of cocaine discovered in the judge's office, not a warehouse. The seat of justice turned supply line. Judge Layla Mahad, 49, Somali descent, complicit in the network. Over 6 years, $61 million in cash and $118 million in suspicious transfers moved through 29 shell companies in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Panama, and Curaçao. None sold products, all linked to CJNG shipments. Officials involved, bank directors approved transfers, local police chiefs signed access forms, trucks moved shipments, cash flowed back. Not bribery, system design. At 2:17 a.m., Judge Mahad enters a dark community center. 3 men follow, including Abdi Khalaf, wanted for armed robbery. 17 minutes. No bags, only doors opening and closing. Deals in the dark. More than 580 Somali nationals entered Minnesota through network channels. Young men with criminal histories, 16 months, 57 shootings, 91 armed robberies, 9 overdose deaths, 22 forced prostitution cases traced to network recruits. A PCA badge used for Medicaid fraud financed armed attacks. Dawn Thursday, Operation Northern Razor launched. Maps pinned in command center. Red dots, blue arrows, warehouses, clinics, apartment blocks, garages, riverfront piers targeted. Ordinary buildings mask cartel operations, protected by permits and signatures. 4:03 a.m., phones buzz, immediate attack. Over 100 federal and local units deployed. Black SUVs, tactical vans, highway patrol, Bell helicopter overhead. First strike, former trucking depot, Brooklyn Park. Industrial packaging machines, barrels, pallets of sealed boxes discovered. K-9 units intercept fleeing suspects. Medical supplies listed on manifest were false. 20 miles south, converted church basement raided. Plastic tubs, vacuum sealers, cash counters. Coded text messages used for nighttime handoffs. Burnsville House, 2 suspects attempt to flee, captured by drone and tactical units. By noon, 27 locations secured. Agents seize over 200 kilograms of narcotics, cash from vents, laptops with routing data, appointment books showing meetings with officials. The operation exposes deep corruption. Judge Mahad built the system. $61 million cash plus $118 million suspicious transfers moved through 29 shell companies. Officials approved shipments and cash transfers. Systematic design, not bribery. The truck shipments, CJNG operations, money flows verified. Federal raids reveal narcotics, firearms, and cash. 580+ recruits smuggled. Attacks, armed robberies, overdoses linked. PCA Medicaid fraud used to fund violence. Community center and residential locations part of network. Agents sweep warehouses, churches, apartments. Hundreds of kilos of narcotics seized. Sealed boxes, cutting agents, packaging machines, cash, and firearms recovered. Tactical teams secure streets, highways blocked. Drones and helicopters monitor activity. Network traced to shell companies, banks, and local officials. Transactions approved by bank directors and police chiefs. Trucks and shipments move under legal permissions. every approval documented, digital evidence reconstructed. Operation Northern Razor, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Judge Mahad and network captured. 137 individuals charged with drug trafficking, fraud, falsifying documents, and unlawful transfers. 26 corrupt officers implicated, over 240 kilograms of cocaine seized, over $154 million recovered. Weapons and documents secured. Federal prosecutors reviewed mountains of ledgers recovered during the raids. Every page analyzed in painstaking detail. Payments disguised as facility fees, security consulting, or administrative costs were traced to police captains, city officials, and shell companies operating across multiple states. Every permit signed, every lease approved, every authorization given had been leveraged to facilitate cartel operations. Emails recovered from encrypted phones confirmed instructions, shipment orders, financial transfers, and meeting schedules with unnerving precision. Evidence was both digital and physical: hard drives, bank statements, financial records, surveillance footage, shipping manifests, and encrypted mobile devices, painting a full picture of an organized criminal network operating under the cover of legality. Public reaction was immediate and intense. Across Minneapolis and surrounding counties, residents awoke to news reports of massive federal raids and arrests. Disbelief and fear rippled through the community. Crowds gathered outside county courthouses, waving handwritten signs demanding answers. Officials once trusted were resigning under pressure. County boards held emergency meetings to assess fallout and restore public confidence. State legislators convened special sessions demanding accountability and transparency. Bank directors implicated in the network were indicted. Schools, health clinics, and municipal offices began internal audits. Residents questioned safety, wondering how such a complex and deep-rooted criminal network could exist under their noses for so long. The initial phase of Operation Northern Razor concluded with Judge Layla Mahad in custody. She remained silent, head bowed, as federal agents processed all associated officials. Every piece of evidence cataloged meticulously. Federal authorities identified a full spectrum of cartel activity intertwined with official channels: narcotics routes, financial transfers, arms distribution, and operational coordination. The network sprawling across Minneapolis and into nearby states was now exposed. Cartel influence in Minnesota was significantly disrupted. Over 240 kilograms of narcotics, more than $154 million in cash, multiple firearms, shell companies, and dozens of complicit officials had been identified, apprehended, or neutralized. Investigators confirmed that the CJNG cartel's operations had been integrated into the everyday functioning of local governance, with officials signing permits, leases, and approvals that enabled the transport, storage, and redistribution of narcotics and illicit funds. Federal analysts meticulously traced these flows, linking each dollar, each shipment, and each personnel assignment back to the central network. The systemic design of this network meant that arrests of low-level operatives were insufficient. Entire structures of authority had to be dismantled to stop the cartel from operating openly. Federal agents confirmed that the investigation was ongoing. While Operation Northern Razor had disrupted the network in Minnesota, the ripple effects were expected to expand nationwide. Arrests, seizures, and prosecutions were underway across state lines. CJNG cartel operations, heavily dependent on these compromised officials, were severely impacted. Banks and corporate entities under investigation were cooperating under federal scrutiny, and previously shielded shell companies were frozen, their accounts under strict monitoring. Authorities vowed to continue targeting both the cartel's criminal activities and the institutional corruption that had enabled them. Residents across Minneapolis were still reeling from the revelations. Public trust in local institutions had been shaken. Community centers, libraries, and municipal offices held emergency town halls. Citizens demanded transparency, accountability, and reform. News outlets covered every detail, from the seizure of narcotics and cash to the arrests of officials and shell company operators. Social media erupted with discussions, videos, and citizen reporting. The depth of the betrayal, officials abusing their authority to facilitate drug trafficking, created a nationwide conversation about systemic corruption and the importance of vigilance. Operation Northern Razor had not just been a series of tactical raids. It was a coordinated strike against a multi-layered criminal enterprise entwined with government operations. Federal analysts worked day and night, cross-referencing ledger entries, emails, bank transfers, and shipment data. Every seizure, every arrest, and every charge had been documented for legal proceedings and long-term investigation. Tactical teams continued to sweep for remaining assets. Drones, helicopters, and surveillance teams monitored former cartel-associated properties to prevent evidence tampering or asset relocation. Federal prosecutors and task forces ensured that every arrested individual faced appropriate charges. 137 individuals had been implicated so far, with charges ranging from drug trafficking to fraud, falsifying documents, and facilitating unauthorized financial transfers. Every charge reflected a breach of public trust. Officials who had once operated with impunity were now under legal scrutiny. The system that had allowed the cartel to flourish was being dismantled piece by piece. Weapons seized during the raids were cataloged and secured. Firearms, ammunition, and other military-grade equipment were inventoried and cross-checked against federal databases. Narcotics were counted, measured, and secured in federal evidence facilities. Cash seized was verified, counted, and transferred under strict chain-of-custody protocols. Shell companies involved in laundering money were placed under federal freeze orders. Investigators ensured that all assets connected to the network could no longer be used to fund criminal activity. The operation sent a message. Criminal activity, even when facilitated by officials, would not be tolerated. Federal authorities stressed that dismantling the network was only the beginning. Follow-up investigations would continue to identify remaining operatives, uncover additional shell companies, and trace illicit funds through global financial networks. Cooperation from local, state, and federal agencies remained essential. Every arrest, seizure, and charge was a step toward restoring public trust and enforcing accountability. This is Operation Northern Razor, Minneapolis. Drugs seized, cash recovered, weapons secured, officials arrested, cartel routes disrupted, systematic corruption exposed. The fight against drug trafficking, organized crime, and institutional betrayal continues. Federal authorities reaffirmed their commitment to dismantling cartel influence and restoring safety to communities. Every element of the network, from narcotics trafficking to financial manipulation, is being pursued. The operation continues, with federal teams working tirelessly to ensure justice is served. Residents are now more vigilant. Community centers, schools, and municipal offices monitor suspicious activity. Public awareness campaigns have been launched to educate citizens on signs of corruption and organized crime influence. Federal agents maintain a visible presence to reassure the public while continuing investigative work. Operation Northern Razor is ongoing. Minnesota's residents witnessed the dismantling of a network that had infiltrated official channels, diverted public funds, and facilitated large-scale drug distribution. Every arrest, every seizure, and every indictment serves as a warning to those attempting to exploit positions of authority. Federal authorities continue to coordinate raids, review evidence, and pursue additional arrests to completely neutralize the network. The fight is not over. CJNG cartel influence, while disrupted, is being monitored for attempts to rebuild operations. Federal task forces continue tracking communications, financial transfers, and shipment routes. Officials implicated are cooperating with investigators to prevent further criminal activity. Minnesota and surrounding states remain vigilant. This is Operation Northern Razor. Drugs seized, cash recovered, weapons secured, officials arrested, cartel routes disrupted, systematic corruption exposed. Federal authorities continue their fight against organized crime and corruption within institutional structures. The operation is ongoing. Justice is enforced. Communities are protected. The fight continues.